too. I guess for everyone's introduction, I'll let you know that we've joined tonight by Alan Davis. Alan is one of our lecturers. He's one of our sort of rockstar lecturers, because by the end, I'm sure you'll all agree that he's quite entertaining. So you've got quite a treat tonight. And Alan's background is in advocacy. He will explain a bit when we start and go into his background. I don't even have my name on my thing, do I? I just got College of Law. So my name's Jacqui Steffen, and that's very rude of me, but I have not...
You are the College of Law, Jacqui. You actually are the College of Law.
Way more impressive.
Thank you.
Way more.
So I'm the relationship manager here at the college. My background is in insurance and insurance litigation, mostly in professional indemnity, directors and officers liability, what is termed in insurance speak as financial lines, sort of the Rolls-Royce of insurance. Really interesting litigation, very big and complex, with lots of, involving lots of parties and lots of money. So I was in private practice in commercial insurance, and then I moved into an in-house role for 10 years, managing those sorts of claims for largely London-based insurers. So that's my background. I've sort of stepped out of the commercial space and into this role as a relationship manager. And I guess that's an example for law students about the transferability of the skills that you learn. So the skills that I've learnt as a claims manager, as a lawyer practicing in insurance litigation, are skills that can be transferred across into other areas, like now a relationship manager role. I'm sorry, I'm just admitting more people. Welcome, everybody. I hope you can join. Okay. I think that Monica's trying again. Hopefully she's able to join us. For those that have missed the start, I was just explaining my background. My name's Jacqui Steffen. I'm sorry, I'm just titled the College of Law. I was just explaining my background.
I'm so tempted to do the same joke, but that's bad, right? That's bad. I'll stop. I will stop.
Don't do the same joke.
I will stop.
So today we've got along with us Alan Davis. Alan's one of our lecturers at the college. Very, very entertaining, funny guy. So it's going to be a very lively session. And I'll let Alan introduce himself.
Now?
Oh, with more of your background. Explain.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So my name is Alan Davis, originally from the UK, as you can tell, because apparently I don't think I have an accent, but you guys do. I'm from Essex in the UK, which probably explains my sense of humour. But my background is as follows. I have a music degree from University of Edinburgh. I have my law degree from Bristol University. I did an LLB and an LLM at the same time, 2 years. And then I did my bar readers course. That was at Cardiff University. And then I got a few Pegasus scholarships, it's called, and I got transferred to Australia, where I lectured for many years at Monash University. So that was there, and essentially I then from Monash University joined the College of Law, and I've been here almost for 3 years. I'm just about to complete a PhD, so that's job done. I wouldn't recommend that personally, but it's up to you. But yes, no, most people say that once they've done a PhD apparently. I teach mostly advocacy, interviewing, and ethics, various subjects we'll explain during the course here today. And I just went on your website because RMIT are pretty lucky, because you've got Professor Bronwyn Naylor, who I taught with at Monash University, so I know her very, very well. You are very lucky. I then had another look, and you've got everybody I know that I worked with used to at Monash. You've got Vanessa Johnson, who is the coolest lecturer. I don't know if you come across her, but trust me, she is. You've got Adam Fletcher. You've got a whole list of people that I kind of grew up with in law. So well done, you guys. So you're lucky. So that's why I had the choice of which university to choose to do this presentation. I thought, I've got to go to RMIT. I've got to go to RMIT. So here I am virtually. So that's me. Yeah. So, and I live in Paran. Don't judge me for that.
Thank you, Alan, for that lovely introduction and snapshot. So we'll get started on the presentation. We'll go through some slides and really explain to you what PLT is. Alan will be able to give you an insight into the course. Feel free at the end, in the chat perhaps, I think is the best option, to put in any questions you have. We'll deal with them at the end. It's probably the easiest. And feel free to ask Alan any questions, or either of us any questions, but Alan certainly has the hands-on experience of teaching the course, knows it inside out, and is the guru on advocacy. And that's certainly not my area. So
no, there's room for improvement. There's room for improvement.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Davis. Okay, so let's get started. Poor Monica, I can see is trying to join, and I let her into the meeting every time and she just can't seem to get through. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I'll leave that. Okay, now why isn't my slide working? There we go. So firstly, just to let everyone know that due to COVID-19, we've moved our course into an entirely online delivery. The program was already online, but for the first week, which is called a skills week, in which you would normally come into the college from Monday to Friday, pretty much 9 to 5. If you're lucky enough, you would see Alan for a couple of days of those 5 days. And that's a real deep dive immersion into the program. And we've moved that now fully online. So that week is now online. I'm just conscious that poor Monica keeps trying to get in. I feel sorry for her. It's just not working. So where does PLT fit in? So you guys are up at this left corner at your academic law degree. You then need your PLT. PLT is compulsory, whether you do it at a PLT provider such as us, or whether you do it at a law firm, which is supervised legal training. But either way, it is compulsory. And then you make a disclosure that you're a fit and proper person, makes a disclosure to the board, and then the board agrees, yes, Jacqui Steffen is, they agree that can be admitted as a lawyer. And so on that very special day, you're admitted as an Australian lawyer. The good news is that currently the courts are also processing admissions. It's not so much an online version, it's just more of a paperwork version, if I can put it that way. That's
we're all lawyers, we've got to get used to paperwork, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, so it's pretty much done on the papers now, the admission, but it's a really important day, really exciting day. You know, it's a day to celebrate with families, friends, your support group, but particularly it's an important day for us because often students when it's in court, it's done in the Supreme Court of Victoria, and you need a lawyer to move your admission. So someone gets up, speaks to the judge and says, I want to move Jacqui Steffen's admission. And often our lecturers do that for our students, and it's really important. And I think it's probably gives them a big buzz. It gives the grad a buzz, and it's an exciting day for everyone. Then you can then go into legal practice, a barrister, or many of the thousands of other roles that there are available for lawyers. So what is PLT? It builds on your academic training. We like to think of it as you learn at uni all the technical aspects of law, you learn the case law, precedent, research, things like that. You come to PLT with that bag of knowledge, and we teach you how to apply that. So it's really putting the law into practice. How do you interview a client? What do you need to discuss in a client interview? The ethics behind the way you treat clients, decisions you make, decisions of whether you are conflicted or not, a whole range. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole range of issues that you need to learn in how to be a lawyer. It is compulsory for all Australian states. In my day, a million years ago, you could do articles or PLT. PLT wasn't really done so much. Most people tried to get articles. But I really feel that I would have been a much better lawyer early on had I done my PLT. I had missed huge aspects of learning doing articles because it was also very much be thrown into the deep end and you sink or swim. And it's pretty torturous, I'll admit, back then. So PLT is fantastic. I think it's a really good step that they've introduced it and got rid of the articles. And that's really why, because the learning was inconsistent for a lot of young lawyers. It does prepare for practice, and it is certainly the start of your legal career. It is not a tick-a-box exercise. If you're doing advocacy when you do advocacy in the skills week, you'll be on your feet, you'll be arguing and doing everything you would have to do as if you were in court. And that's fantastic. There's no better training in a supported learning environment. We're really about building up your confidence so that you can then apply the law. So let me just look. What if we... is my internet okay? Is it okay now, Alan?
Yes, okay now. You're dropping in and out every now and again, though. You're sounding like a Dalek.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back to that.
Just don't say exterminate.
Sorry. PLT, 3 components. One is coursework, which Alan will take you through shortly. The second is work experience. And the third component is continuing professional education, CPE. That really is perhaps a lesser component than the other two. When can you start? This is really important because a lot of students perhaps aren't aware of this, but you can actually start your PLT once you've finished your Priestley 11 core subjects and provided you have no more than 2 electives remaining. So that's really beneficial. I think a lot of students in this COVID period, when they're perhaps unable to work and spending more time at home, have started their PLT. So we've seen the biggest intakes we've ever seen, to be honest, which I assume is due to the restrictions. So yeah, that's certainly, you can either wait till you finish or your university degree, or you can start once you've done your Priestley 11 and 2 electives remaining. And that's a rule not created by the college, that's a rule created by the admissions board, what we refer to as VLAD, Victorian Legal Admissions Board. They determined whether you'll get the tick and whether you can be admitted, but they're the ones that dictate really the way in which PLT is structured and what you need to do in PLT. I've just got to admit someone else. This is the full and part-time options that are available. As I said, full-time, it's 15 weeks, part-time 30 weeks. It is online, and at the moment it is online due to COVID, that's Skills Week. I know there's a question in the chat box about this, will it return to face-to-face? Once restrictions are eased, We will be able to return to face-to-face. We are looking at whether we can keep a fully online course. Again, that's not really our decision, that's a decision of VLab, and it will apply to all the PLT providers. They clearly appreciate a week face-to-face with the lecturers to teach the real crux of PLT. And so whilst you can still do that online, and to some extent that online offers that flexibility for some students, it really is our decision. It will be decision of VLab. I think the college will try and lobby VLab so that we can offer a fully online program, because it has been very attractive. I mean, we've got lots more overseas students than ever before because they can now do it fully online. But we will certainly be able to be offering face-to-face once restrictions are eased. Who knows when that will be. There's the indicative study loads for the full and part-time. I'm sure that some students perhaps do less, some students might do more. I think that's just really indicative, but Alan will take you through that. So over to Mr. Davis.
All right, okay. How is everyone? You all relaxed, you all seem? I saw somebody going to get a drink there. I hope you've opened the bottle up, okay. All right, I'm used to Zoom because I've been teaching on it now, doing lectures and workshops. So I'm used to being able to see absolutely everybody. It's my gift and my curse. Okay, so it's 15 weeks or 30 weeks, as you can see there. Now, think of the PLT as pracademia, okay, not academia. There is a difference. I can say that because I've lectured in both. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you're at university, you're writing essays, say you're doing exams. Once you've submitted that essay, you may never see it again unless you used to come to me and complain about your marks, say, right? And ask to, or appeal it perhaps. And you're talking about judgments and what happened in 1066, say. We're not necessarily concerned with the Battle of Hastings in 1066. What we are concerned with is the practical application of that law and that legal knowledge. What form do you need to fill in? What are your written, streamlined submissions to court? How do you do a file note? How do you run a file? How do you write a proper memo? How do you write letters to your client? How do you communicate to your client? All those sort of pracademia approaches. So yes, you might well every now and again have to quote a few cases and things like that to show your knowledge, but we are not concerned with the ins and outs unless it advances your position. So it's a practical approach to things. It's quite fun, I have to say, but teaching in both, I really do find it rewarding doing the pracademia approach to things. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's 15 or 30 weeks. 15 weeks is the full-time course, as you can see from the previous slide. However, what that really boils down to is up to 2 to 3 tasks you have to submit each week. So what that means is you may have a task on Tuesday, on Wednesday and Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, dependent, okay? And the subjects, as you can see on that slide, are, say, split into civil, CCP, we call it commercial and corporate practice, ethics, lawyer skills, and property practice. So the first thing you do is the online week. So let's explain that. You have to do various subjects which are compulsory. You have to do it. So normally you would have half a day or maybe 3/4 of a day on interviewing. And what is that about? Well, that's how do you interview a client? What information do you want to achieve? What do you want to get? We have to teach you not to potentially just provide a conclusion and be forced into advice that you could well get sued for giving because you're not necessarily knowledgeable on the area. So it's all those techniques that we help you establish. And there's some scenarios that you go through. And then we have a workshop on ethics. And again, I'm not concerned on the whole semester course you might have achieved on ethics. I want to know what can you bill, what can't you bill, and you might never need to do too much billing. But the conduct rules you need to apply and the buck stops with you. It doesn't matter whether you've got a secretary doing your billing. as the principal lawyer or the main lawyer, if they get it wrong, you're responsible. So that's what we teach you. Then we teach you the next day on, say, Tuesday, writing and drafting. How do you draft those letters? How do you draft a contract? It's fine reading about it at university and reading the cases that advance your position, but when you actually get a client, it's a bit of a different matter. So it's all about the client approach and the practical approach. Wednesday and Thursday are my favourite days. I cannot, unfortunately, make writing and drafting interesting. I have tried. I can't do it. It's a bit of a failure for me. Writing and drafting, so that's writing and drafting on Wednesday. And then we do well-being as well. How do you approach all that workload? Because at university, sometimes you're just dumped in it and you're there and you've got the semester. This is how do you approach your principal? How can you say no? How do you manage your time? Which is actually some useful techniques in that sense. Then on Wednesday, Thursday is advocacy, which is my favourite day. And, you know, it's not necessarily about the law so much for those days. It's actually knowing about yourself. So we do a trial, which is kind of fun. And I say, well, you know, the students are asking a whole bunch of questions in examination chief or cross-examination. And I say, well, what are you trying to achieve for this? What's the point? Well, one of the techniques is don't just sing like a canary and tell everybody in that courtroom what the point is. You need to learn with an authority figure that it's okay to say, Your Honour, may I take a moment? So it's learning those techniques and taking back control that you would need as an entry-level lawyer. You do a thing called mentions, which is a quick appearance in court, and you ask for an adjournment. But if you're in my class, don't just expect an adjournment. I want reasons why, and I might not give it to you. So that's in a class, you do it in front of everybody, but it's a safe environment. And you know what's really great about this course compared to university, what I think? If you get something wrong, you get a chance to do it again. We're not about trying to fail you and saying bye-bye. This is about the practical approach to things. So if you want to submit your task again, because you don't feel you've understood it, but you've got marked as complete, you've done it, it's all good, you're ready to go and run like the gate's been left open, but you're paying a lot of money. If you want to have another go, then you have another go. We need to make sure you are comfortable in that workplace environment so you don't show yourself up, you don't show us up, and you do the best you possibly can for your client and yourself. So it's different. It's a different approach to the workload. So you submit that online, all those various tasks. So then on Friday, then it's negotiation, which is quite fun. So that's the on-site week or online week. And we've been conducting that via Zoom. And I have to say, and I'm pretty blunt, they've been going pretty well. Surprisingly, I have a huge screen where I can see everybody if you're concentrating. I can see if you've just flicked your hair or not, or if you've gone and got a drink or anything. The point is, if I can't control that class and show that you're not engaged, then I'm doing something very wrong and I shouldn't be doing my job. Okay, so that's that week. And then you break into this 2-week per subject approach if it's the full-time course. So you start off with ethics, so it's the practical applications. There's a few dodgy emails going backwards and forwards and things like that to clients, and can you do that? What are you in breach of? So it's the practical application of those rules, which is kind of fun. Then you do civil litigation. That's again a 2-week course. The only difference between part-time and full-time is the civil litigation says 2 weeks, and in the part-time it's 4 weeks. So it depends how you want to slow it down. So that's, you do a 10-minute interlocutory application, which is an interim hearing. You're basically saying that something's been entered by accident. Suddenly my client's turned up because he realised he's got a huge bill and you shouldn't have done it. So that's what we do with there. So we teach you how to do that, which is real fun. And then property, how do I put it? You know, when I studied law, equity and trust, I had no idea. Equity and trust was a swear word. All I can tell you is the practical application of equity and trust is really, really easy. So we teach you how to do that practical application. I don't know why my lecturers made it so confusing that I had no idea until I actually started practicing in it. That's all I can tell you. I have no idea why they make it so confusing. So that's ethics, property practice. And then CCP is the same thing, but obviously commercial properties. And that's how that all goes. Then you get to do 2 electives. They're at the same time. And you can choose. I run criminal law practice and rewrite that course, but all of them are pretty good. But again, it's the practical applications. All your tasks each week, whether they're 3 a week, 2 a week, or 1 a week if it's part-time, you submit it online via the system called Canvas. That gets put up onto the system. We annotate it online. I don't know what RMIT have, but that started just coming in when I left at Monash. So I used to hate that online system, but now it's actually okay, I have to say. It's all right. So we annotate all on there, and then we provide detailed comments, and we take you through the process. And it's about having a go and being okay getting it wrong. That it's a safe environment. The whole point of the PLT is to get it wrong with us, so you don't get it wrong in the real world. Whereas at university, it always used to be, oh, you got it wrong, you failed the unit, what am I going to do? And then you have a little bit of a mini breakdown. So that's kind of how that works. So the course is 15 to 30 weeks. Now, it says their study load on that slide, 30 hours to 35 on the previous slide. You know what? It depends if you're good at the subject. If it clicks, then it might be a lot easier. If it hasn't clicked, then so be it. So it does take a little bit longer, but only time will tell. And the whole point is better for it to click with us. Now, at the end of each 2 weeks, you have to do an oral assessment. That oral assessment can last up to an hour. We ask you questions, and it's over Zoom or WebEx, and we have the conversation. So I say, well, if we've got this approach to things, what conduct rule would you be in breach of if you just sent an email and everybody suddenly read it and they weren't meant to read it? What happens then? What can you do about it? So that's the approach to things. Again, I really don't care what happened in 1652. Now, Zoom, when it says on that previous slide, sorry, if you could go back, Jacqui, there you go, thanks. That's how we conduct our classes. We use the chat function galore. I absolutely love that. When I have witnesses, and each student might be a witness, and we're cross-examining them, and they think they've prepared their little script, and they realize that suddenly I'm telling that witness what to say, that script doesn't work. And suddenly the student looks up and I say, welcome back. Nice to have you here. Because they realize that scripts don't work. All right. So it's all about that place. So I actually really enjoy Zoom. And you know what's kind of fun? Zoom is now perhaps how certain trials and applications might well be made. So I say to my current students, you know, you're at the forefront of this, which means you've got one over those QCs that are 95 years old and have to get a secretary to check their emails. You actually are at the forefront, which means you know the system and can manipulate the system and know how it works. That can be the difference, a level of engagement between winning and losing a case, not necessarily about the law. You know, you're assuming everybody's competent and listening and saying, you know, apply the law. It may not well be that. So that's how that works. So it's kind of fun. We use the breakout rooms and we have mini workshops. Now that Canvas screen there is exactly Canvas, and that's how the tasks work. And you click on, say, 1.1, 1.2, and you submit it via that system. And the biggest thing is you get a tick or a cross. If you've got a cross, you have to resubmit. If you've got a tick, then you know you're complete and can run like the gate's been left open. But alternatively, even though you've got your tick, you might want, as I said, to do it again, because it's not just about the exam. These tasks, though, don't count towards your mark. They are just hurdles, but you have to do them and be competent. And then your oral assessment is 100% of your mark. All right, so that's how that works. And you know what? If you're not ready to sit that oral assessment, that's okay. We'll renegotiate and try and find a time for you, because, and I can truly say this, I believe in it at least, otherwise I wouldn't say it. You're not just a student, you're not just a number, you become part of the College of Law. And that alumni, that presence, that just, I need to have a quick chat. I need to pick your brains. I just want to know what's going on. You know, I've got this crazy case and I have no idea how to approach it. That's really important when you're in the real world. I really, really believe that. So that's the environment I try to create. And I'm still in touch with students now that, admittedly, when I made them resubmit one of their tasks about 12 times once, cursed me. And then he got in practice and he said, you know, I was the only one that could actually do that task. Thank you. At the time I cursed you, but now all I can say is thank you. I'm the only one that got to keep my job as well. So, you know, that's important. So we build that working relationship up. You are not just a number. And if you think that, that's very wrong, because you're not just, you're a customer, you're a human being, and you want to get something out of it. Don't think of this course as a tick box exercise. It's a level 8 qualification. That means that's higher than your undergrad. FYI, all right? So your undergrad is level 7. This is level 8. So as you can see there, that's the, thank you for moving me on, Jacqui. Good prompting. That is how we annotate the comments. And you can print that off or save it there. And you can see the comment box on the right-hand side. And you can see that it's kind of smudged out, whether it says complete or incomplete. And that's important. That tells you whether you can move on to the next task. All right. So the system is pretty good. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but that's okay. We teach you how to get used to it. All right. And if you don't understand, ask us. There's no silly question. That's what we're here for. All right. There's some of the videos that we watch. That's mentions. Unfortunately, that's a video from New South Wales. If anybody's from there, I apologise. But condolences. No, we're all right. But I'm a fan of Victoria, obviously. But no, we play the videos. But you know what? We don't just tell you to watch those videos. You've got me in that class watching it with you. And if I don't agree with it, if I disagree with it, I'll pause it and we'll have a discussion. It's not just, this is the task, off you go during that on-site week. It's about building up a professional relationship, all right, that hopefully can last a lot longer. Let me click on to the next one so I can see what you're doing. Timetables, yes. Now, that is in theory fixed. Theory is a wonderful thing. Sometimes theory doesn't work though, does it? So it's not like university where suddenly you have a panic and you've got that exam on Tuesday morning and you might be up all night doing those little cards, realizing that actually you really don't know what you're doing and you're now listening to every single lecture. You really wished you'd gone to that revision class that you never went to. And maybe change lecture streams because that other one was better. We've all been there. This system, there is some flexibility built in it. We know that you might be working full time, and then this course almost turns into evening work for you and weekends. So we understand you need to create that lifestyle balance, and I want you to generally get something from the course. So there are hurdles, there are dates you have to submit things, but if there's a drama, talk to me if that's the case. And when I say me, you have your lecturer, you'll have that person, that same lecturer for all your subjects, whether it's 15 weeks or 30 odd weeks or whatever it is, and you'll have that same person unless there's been a drama in between. So you'll get various different people teach you during the on-site week, but overall you get the same lecturer for every single subject they will teach you on, including the electives. It is, like I said, that it's a practical task base. It's an oral assessment, but you do have to submit tasks. If you're, for example, wanting to do the full-time and you realise, actually, you know, I've got 18 dogs, 6 cats and a partridge in a pear tree, and you actually can't potentially do all those tasks at once, then you just apply to go part-time and we see if we can work with you. We realise you have to do this course, but if you can get something out of it, so be it. Is any other?
That's it. Thank you very much.
That's it. That's all I can really add. Any questions, you let me know. I'm trying to read the chat at the same time. Ah, Laura, you said you have Canvas at RMIT. Do you like it, Laura? That's the question. It takes a little bit of getting used to, so you've got one up on us. I tell you, if you're using it at RMIT, then you'll be just fine. You'll know the do's and don'ts with it. I think it's actually an okay system. Now, negotiation dispute resolution, sorry, Laura, that may well, you can get what's called advanced standing. So that's normally on a Friday here at the College of Law during your on or on-site week. Now, should you get advanced standing? Now, the question that I always say is, we've got some really, really good lecturers, way better than me, way better, right? I've got room for improvement, but there's some stunning individuals that if I were you, teaching negotiations and dispute resolution in particular, that I would advertise I got taught by them and put on LinkedIn and advertise that you actually, I mean, they are doing advanced ADR and NDR cases worldwide. If you get an opportunity to pick their brain, well, you're already paying for it. Why wouldn't you? So that's kind of on a Friday. So yes, you can get advanced standing, potentially. It gets assessed on an individual basis. But the question I would say is, should you? Because remember, this is a crowded market. What can give you the edge or the contacts or the environment, which means that you get your dream career? And law is a bit of a lifestyle choice. You might not want to be an advocate. Who knows? You might want to work in policy. You might want to, you know, do anything you want. There's lots of transferable skills, but we're here to help you with that. And you never know who you might get taught by that can help that position. So that's what I would say in terms of that. It's not quite as simple as yes, you can, but the bigger question is, should you? Thanks, Jacqui.
Yeah, I completely agree with Alan on that point. We are asked about that quite a bit. And it's true, we do have some phenomenal lecturers, and some have their own businesses in negotiation and training, and they teach at the top law firms, global law firms. So why wouldn't you want to be taught by them as well? So it's definitely an opportunity that I personally, for one day, I would do that over a day of work personally. That would be my choice. So that's the first component, coursework. The second component is work experience. So at the moment, there's two formats traditionally. We do have a third alternative, which I'll explain, which is more relevant to PLT students just about to start or have currently or already enrolled with us. So they're current PLT students, more so than perhaps students in the next 6 to 12 months. But so standard, there's two forms of work experience: the short, which is 15 days, plus the clinical experience module, CEM, or standard, which is 75 days of work experience. Just like me. This is the third option now. We call it the IPC. This was developed purely because of COVID restrictions, realising that students couldn't leave their house, attend work experience, difficulties with being supervised, things like that. So this is the alternative. It is a new option. It probably will only be available during the COVID restrictions, and they are currently unable to obtain any work experience. It is a complete alternative to the work experience component. It does consist of 8 weeks, and it has 3 mentoring sessions. So you'll be provided with a hypothetical scenario. You will put together a written submission about how you would deal with that scenario. And then you will have 3 sessions with a mentor who will work with you and discuss your submission. They will discuss how they would have handled it, and you'll be able to do that over 3 sessions. We've recruited mentors from the legal profession.
And they're pretty good, Jacqui. I've seen some of the people. They're actually, you're getting a chance, an opportunity to pick these brains. It's almost like, how do I put it, the reader's course, where you get paired with a reader and you get to see and pick their brains. And I actually think that's not a bad opportunity. And I'm the type of individual that I said, if it was bad, I would tell you. In that sense.
I agree. I think that the opportunity to have 3 one-to-one mentoring sessions with a practicing lawyer, whether they be from the bar, so we've got a range of barristers, or lawyers from the legal profession, 3 one-on-one sessions with them. So, and quite possibly, I mean, should that relationship go well, you can always ask for that relationship as a mentor to continue post.
I always think, Jacqui, if you don't ask, you don't get.
That's right. So really important to have a mentor, and we're lucky we were able to do that now and offer this for the COVID restrictions especially. So work experience, we get lots of questions. What counts? Anything really aside from the straight admin. Administration itself won't meet work experience, but certainly paralegal, summer clerks, assisting a barrister in chambers, government policy and planning work at a chartered accountant in the legal division, some organisations with in-house departments, volunteering at a community legal centre. If you can, I strongly recommend getting some voluntary experience at a CLC. I did it, you know, during my law degree, and I know that perhaps it's harder to find places in them now, you know, currently, but cannot emphasize enough how important any experience that you are able to obtain along the way. It's vitally important in your career.
Because I mean, you have to show in theory commitment to the profession, and plus you have to stand out and show your personality. Lots of people can get good grades now. It doesn't matter about that. You know, lots of people can go to top universities. Who cares?
Yeah.
Do they want to work with you, and how do you stand out? I mean, I did work experience with Northern Aboriginal Justice Agency in Catherine in the NT. I mean, lots of people do that now, mind you, but that was the, you know, 20 odd years ago, that was, wow, you were like in the outback Australia. So how do you stand out? How do you make yourself different? So think of that with work experience. And what my tip would be in terms of that, if I can just add, Jacqui, is, you know, do lots of work experience areas in different areas, not just to get your time and your days, but you need to say, well, why isn't that area suitable for you? Why are you not into wills in the States? Well, you don't just say you're not interested in it or you didn't like it at university. If you do 2 weeks work experience with it, well, bingo, you might have got some points. That's great in terms of this. But also you can then tell the big top magic circle law firms why that's not appropriate for you, what you did during that 2 weeks and why you're not interested in it. But these are the skills you developed. So that's, if you were being interviewed in front of me at any of my chambers, that's the sort of things I would be asking you. And that's what you need to show. It's not about just your grades.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So from my experience, I did a summer clerkship, I did paralegal work, I did volunteering at a CLC, I did placement at a legal aid with uni, and I also did some work with the barrister on a big piece of litigation. It was kind of a little bit boring because it was very documented.
Oh, thanks.
So not working with the barrister, but the litigation itself was quite boring.
What area of law was that?
It was a contract dispute, and it was.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was over sort of office supply, so it was very.
Sounds riveting.
Yeah, but fabulous experience along the way. So that's that. All.
You can now know why you weren't interested in it.
That's right. Exactly what Ellen said. Where can you find work experience? College of Law Jobs Board, Social Justice Opportunities website, Pro Bono, Justice Connect. There's a National Association of CLCs, Beyond Law, local suburban firms.
We have, though, who do we have at College of Law in terms of work experience? Oh, Susan.
Yes. I get to that later on. We do have a careers person.
She is fantastic. I'm so excited to.
Brace yourself. No, it's totally fine. Pre-approval. So if you have done 60 days work experience while studying your law degree, you can accrue those days and they can be accredited to you for your work experience. So if you're doing some work currently, if you're doing a clerkship, doing some paralegal work, doing some work for a barrister or a CLC, you can apply and have that pre-approved. One of my tips is to make sure that you fill out this form and have it signed off by your supervisor when you do the work, because what can happen, and I speak from experience, you know, your supervisor might leave 3 months after you've finished up doing your voluntary experience or something, and you can't find someone now to sign off on your form, and then you're stuck. So definitely so much easier to do it at the time. The form is actually on our website if you collegeoflaw.edu.au/PLT, but also it will be in a handbook that I will send out to registrants of this webinar. So the form is at the back, is one of the last pages of the book handbook, and you can fill it out, complete the declaration, have your supervisor sign off and return it to the college and get your 60 days signed off already. So last component, just to wrap up the 3 components of PLT, is the CPE. It's 10 units, which I think works out to be about 10 hours. It's far less intense than the coursework. It's but it's got some great topics like, I think, time and work management, critically important for grads and junior lawyers. Understanding financial documents, I certainly didn't until I was having to look at them and analyse them.
I don't even understand my overdraft, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Developing leadership, again, that's really important down the track in your career. So that's a great series, and if you complete all 10 units, you can be awarded the Certificate of Legal Business Skills. That's unique to the college. Tips for fast tracking. So try and secure your work experience if you haven't done so already in your final 2 years of study. Register for your work experience approval, complete the form, and then you can do the short work experience option at the college. This is the fees. There is fee help available to Australian citizens, and the website also has all the details for the fees as well, so don't feel like you need to be writing this down. 5 reasons to choose PLT at the college. Study freedom. Our course is incredibly flexible, as Alan said before. For those that are working, it really turns into an evening and weekend study for you. We recognise that. We recognise that people have a life outside of PLT. They have to work, they have family, they have a job, a myriad of things that we juggle, and so we are very realistic.
They might just want to watch MasterChef, you know, you might actually just want a bit of me time. So we appreciate that. Yes. And with all seriousness, we actually really do.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of freedom. We have numerous intakes every year. This year it's been more than 15. So you'll be able to find a date that fits in with you, for you, and do what your plan is. Hands-on learning, very much hands-on, as Alan said. In advocacy, you're standing up, you're arguing before someone who is the lecturer pretending to be the judge, and who is going to grill you, but in a very friendly way. And but absolutely hands-on. It is aligned with the legal industry, as Alan said. Our lecturers are either practicing lawyers, have just finished practice to become a full-time lecturer, or either have their practice at the same time, or still working within the legal industry, whether it be in their own personal private businesses as well. You do have lecturer support. We've got a great bunch of lecturers. They're really focused on you having the ability to take your next step and do it with confidence and success to see you through the start of your legal career. They will work with you. They will make every effort to support you and get you back on track should you drift off, and really try and do everything to get you to the end with as much support as you need. And then we do further your career.
It's not like, say,
sorry.
And all I was going to say is that, you know, at university sometimes for me at least, I was scared sometimes to go to my lecturer. Even though we're called lecturers, think of us as your mentors almost, where our door, our email, our Zoom our telephone is always open, and it's easy to have that chat with us. We only have we have one lecture to, say, 30 students maybe. It is hard work for all of us, but that's 30, and we're running that whole time. So we actually get to know you very, very well. And in those all assessments, say that's an hour long, the first few minutes is me actually asking, how are you? How is the course going? Am I doing okay? Is there anything else that I can do for you or should improve on? It's not like perhaps where you do that student evaluation at the end at university of the semester. I want to know what's going wrong now so that I can adapt accordingly so you can get the most out of the course.
That's right. We are proud to announce we've got some regional courses commencing in Geelong, July this year, July 2020. 20 July 2020, that's a mouthful. And then Bendigo, Traralgon and Geelong.
Say that again.
If for those that are living in regional areas, this is great that we can offer this as well. So, as I said before, very flexible, over 15 start dates. I think we had 15 at the start of the year and we've had to add a few more. So keep checking the website. We add them along the way when we just realise there is the sheer volume of numbers requires us to add more start dates. So we are also the leading largest provider of PLT in Australia, and now also offer a campus in New Zealand. We also are the top preferred provider to the top 10 law firms. It says 9, but I think we're now the top 10, 10 out of 10. So we provide PLT training to those graduates at the law firms who will be doing supervised legal training for the year. So we provide the PLT and we work with the firms, so we call them co-op firms, in a cooperative relationship. And so we provide that to the top 10 law firms in Australia. Course dates. So as we are zooming through the year, we're now up to just done the May intakes. We've got July and then August, October. I know someone in the chat has already asked about a November date. That is a very good question. And I don't recall if we did any last year, Alan, late November.
You know what, we actually may have, because sometimes we adapt accordingly. Not everything is set in stone. We do go on potentially demand. So it's not quite as simple as having those dates. So sometimes things are subject to change.
I think they should email student services.
Absolutely.
Their details are on the website, and ask them, because that we may be able to do some moving around. So don't hesitate, ask the student services, and if they've got enough inquiries for a November intake, then I'm sure that we would add another intake. So feel free to email them and express your interest in a November start date. Lastly, before we start answering some questions, Alan commented before about Susan. Susan Pincus is our careers advisor for students.
I was so excited. I'm sorry. I was too excited, Jacqui. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Don't apologise. And she's, I work with Susan quite a bit. She's very knowledgeable, has many years experience, both in industries, but also in university with law students. And we're lucky to have her now at the college. She offers a range of services for our PLT students in a whole range of areas that you can see there, specifically, you know, resumes, applications, cover letters, interviews, any kind of advice where if you perhaps are a bit stuck or have a little bit of a barrier to getting work experience, then Susan is your lady. We also offer a Career Lab series. We've been doing that quite a bit during this COVID restriction. So both Susan and I have been providing webinars. They're free. Honestly, these are great opportunities to meet, again, people in the industry. So Susan's already done one on psychometric testing and has had a L&D person from one of the top firms. She will have one coming up in July with L&D from, that means L&D means like some of the HR people, so that are involved in the recruitment. And she'll be talking from Baker & McKenzie, and she'll be talking about interviews, specifically with, you know, going to your first interview. So these are free. I honestly cannot recommend highly enough that you should be attending these. You can meet these people, follow them on LinkedIn and get connected. If there's firms you're interested in working at, follow them on LinkedIn, see the sort of the articles they're writing. So if you are lucky enough to get an interview, you can then really engage them at a much detailed level, having some insight based on, you know, what they've posted on and shared on LinkedIn. Look, I think that's almost it for us. Oh, that's some, yeah, sorry, I've jumped already. That was some here from some of the graduates. So someone that Bronwyn now, who's at a family lawyer, and Emma, who's now at Stan Entertainment. And there's my details. So feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. As Alan said, it's connected with students. I'm also connected with a lot of lawyers, a lot of HR people at law firms. It's an invitation. I personally would jump at it. The better you build your network, the better, the stronger position you'll be in. And I think that that's a really big tip to take from this. So let's look at this chat box.
There's some curly questions. I'm going to let you answer some of those. I'm scared of them.
Really? Okay, let me see. So we've answered the yes, it will go back to face-to-face once there's easing of restrictions.
And Susan, what I would say in terms of saying TLCs and you know, whether you can get work experience or not, sometimes unfortunately you do have to think outside the box. And you know, if that means suddenly you have to go to Whoop Whoop for a week, and that means you get your dream career and some exposure that you'd never get here in Victoria, then so be it. But difficult, I know, but that's kind of how I had to do, because I just came from a normal everyday family. I was the first person to go to university. Everything was a drama. I had no connections. What can make me stand out? What can make my personality shine? So I flew to Australia for £29.50 and went to Catherine. If that doesn't make me stand out back in London, I don't know what will. So that's kind of how I did it. And you have to do certain things. So I admit it is difficult, but think outside the box. Don't always be mainstream, and you never know your luck in a big city. That's what I have to say. Yeah. Sorry to pinpoint you, but just going through the questions, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
sorry, Jacqui.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely try and get as much varied experience as you can. And then also, when you're putting together your CVs, one of the things I often talk about is I noted down, I can't remember, you know, what part now, it's so long ago, but I had done a Peter Pub swim in Lawn, which sounds completely irrelevant for a CV.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And anyway, you know what? It's so funny, because when I would get interviews, I can guarantee often the first question they ask you, because it's the icebreaker, is, wow, you did the Peter Pub, tell us about that. It's an easy question to answer, and your personality can really shine through. But also think of like, you know what that shows them? It shows them that I'm determined. I set my mind to a challenge and I undertake the training. I continued on in the swim, even though I got knocked around by another swimmer, and he kind of shredded my calf with his sports watch. Long story. But again, it just showed them that perseverance and things like that. So I don't mean you have to put in, of course, your CV everything, because you want to tailor it, but make sure you put in things that do demonstrate your personality and the sort of the mental skills and the physical skills that you bring, your skill set generally, not just legal experience. I hope that makes sense.
And another little tip is, call it a CV if the law firm calls it a CV. Call it a resume if the law firm calls it a resume. But don't just assume it's the name. Always read what they're asking you for, because that's the biggest bugbear of mine. I can tell you right now, if you'd applied saying resume and I've asked for a CV, you automatically get put in the bin.
Yes, you can take a gap year and then do PLT. There's a question from Laura. So, I mean, you don't have to enroll. You would just take, I know with uni you would enroll and then defer. You take your gap year. There is a new rule from VLab that you do need to start your PLT within 5 years. Is it 5? Of
5 years, yep.
University studies. Now, that's not a rule that means then you're null and void. It just means that I think they might require you to do 1 or 2 refreshers, which I'm sure you really wouldn't want to do. So my advice would be to ensure that you complete PLT, granted, have the gap year if you need it, but don't leave it for a few years and then realise that you might have to then actually have a few more electives to do, because that would be a little bit challenging, I would have thought. Once you finished your degree, you'd hope that that was it for a little while. Do you help getting work experience? We don't place you for the work experience, but Susan can definitely help you, and we do have many avenues that we can also rely upon. So normally students don't find it difficult to get work experience. Granted, that is difficult at the moment because of COVID restrictions, but outside of COVID, no, students don't normally find it difficult to get their 15 days or 75. And again, you can now do the IPC, which requires no work experience. Most PLCs say on website won't accept students for PLT. What's PLCs? Have I missed it?
It means CLC. It means CLC, I think.
Oh.
I think we've answered that roughly. If I haven't answered that, tell me, and we'll try and help.
Okay. Can we get a copy of the slides? Sure. I don't think that. Oh, yes, you can. But you will actually get a copy of this webinar afterwards. So we send you a copy of this. I'll send you a copy of the PLT handbook. And I'll also send you a link to VLab, which has the rules about early commencement. So if you've got your 2 electives left, that will explain what you need to do to start with your 2 electives left, if that's what you want to do. Oh, sorry, CLC, sorry, I saw that. So does work as a, oh, do you want, I don't know if you've answered that one, no. Does work as a paid agent in an employment firm count? Not probably with case management work. It really depends. You normally fill out the form and have to explain in what way are you gaining some legal experience. I do understand that perhaps in some instances like this one, it might be a little bit grayer, but you probably just need to explain, I mean, are you in any way advising clients or sending recommendations to clients, or, you know, analysing facts, or, you know, putting together memos on current law. I'm just trying to think about how that might else employment firm.
You apply and you get it assessed. That's all I think I would say, and it really does depend. We often get asked questions like that, you know, or perhaps I've done this overseas, but it's for an Australian firm. It was Australian law, but it happened to be in London. So it's all those things. If you don't ask, you don't necessarily get. But everything is regulated. So
yeah. What's Phillips asked, what's CEM, Alan? Can you provide more detail on CEM? I actually.
I don't teach that, I'm afraid.
I do know.
But that's more the practical application, where you go in and you have another day at the end of it, or during that extra little bit of add-on, where you do further scenarios and practice various scenarios in person with another student. I think that's one of the courses where we actually have actors come in and we simulate different things, just to make sure everything just ties it up nicely.
Yeah, so you'll get a legal problem. One person will be on one side, and
I got to be the actor once on one of the negotiations, and I was a really nightmare client. I really enjoyed that, I have to be honest with you. I don't think I was asked to do it again, sorry.
So that's all right. So you'll have a problem. One student will be the client, the other will be the lawyer, and it's about the instructions will tell you how you approach the interview. And so you might be a difficult client like Alan. You might not disclose all the facts at the first interview, or you might change your story a little bit in the second interview. So there's a follow-up, and it's all about that. It's all about how the lawyer in that role plays.
And then you negotiate. And then you negotiate with the other side, say, and you have the chat. So it's all about the actual process, and the simulation is quite handy, I have to say. But like I say, I made it too curly, so I enjoyed ad-libbing in that interview process for me as the client.
So the difference between the 15 days or the 75 days work experience, it's the 15 days, which is the short form, and that's if you've got your 60 days already pre-approved. So if you've already done some work, or you've already done some voluntary work, and you've got the form completed and you sought approval of that work experience, then you can do the 15 days. So that's the distinction. 75 if you haven't got your 60 days pre-approved. Or now the IPC for no work experience. Are the fees paid in one lump sum to HECS? Oh, I have no idea on that one, other than to say, I've got nothing. I don't know.
Speak to student services. That's all down to government certain regulations, so it's complex. I would say speak to student services. They're a fountain of all knowledge, and they really are happy to help, I have to say. So yeah, do pass those questions on.
You can contact student services and actually set up a time to discuss them with it. So maybe, Kat, your question about employment matters. I mean, if they're matters that are going to a tribunal, I would have thought that you might have had a stronger argument, like, you know, fair work or something. You know, as long as it's in relation to a dispute and a legal dispute at a recognised tribunal, then sure. But you can contact student services, set up some time, and you can go through it with them and ask them so that you have a better idea. I should have said that there is no formal application process, nor is there an application fee. So you simply enrol, and provided you have your paperwork, which is either your transcript of your subject saying you've completed your studies, or you've completed everything but for your 2 electives. Really, that's all that's required. So no formal, you don't have to apply and go through a process as such. Can you only do 15 days in the 2 years prior? You can only do 15 days, but that will leave you short. So then you'd have to still do the 75. I would have thought, Alan. I'm not quite sure if...
Yep. Yep, again, but it does depend, because everything's changing at the moment, and that sort of thing is a little bit in flux. So it's not quite as simple as saying this is what it is and it's set in stone. The COVID-19 issues, who knows when those are going to be resolved? There's so many things, so many questions up in the air, and we're trying to be at the forefront of it, but I wouldn't say we can give you a concrete answer on everything, because I don't think anybody else knows. And I always like to be transparent and say, when I know, you'll know.
Yeah. So is it up to 60 days? Yeah, it's up to, well, it's 60. You can get accredited for up to 60 days. I guess I can see my internet is a bit wobbly again, I think. The point is, you can't be credited for more than 60 days is really, it is 60 days previously or 75. Yes. Or the IPC.
I'm just a little bit confused. So you've said that you can't do, like, for example, 15 days only, and then you would be then required to do 75 days, but you've said you can do up to 60 days. So I'm just a little bit confused. Say, for example, if I have accrued 2 months worth, which is probably only 40 days, would I then be able to still claim that and then do another 35 after I've started the course, or would I then need to do 75 days? I think that's the question, but I might not have articulated it properly.
I think as long as you get to the 75, that's fine, that we can sign off that you've completed it. So yes, so say if you've done 25 beforehand, and then the remainder after you've done the coursework, then that's completely fine. Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean you had to have done the 60 days prior to the start of work experience, the start of your PLT.
Thank you.
But I would say, who knows, that could be subject to change. All these regulations and VLAB change everything all the time. So just because we're saying that now, I wouldn't guarantee that that would be the same, say, in 6 months or a year or 2 years' time. I think is a big thing to take away. But again, if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah. And if you have any doubt on whether your work does meet the requirements, then certainly inquire with Student Services. So I'm sorry if that was unclear, that part. Isn't Leo's only 15 days? Well, ours is 15 days too if you've done the previous work experience. I don't know if theirs is 15 days. I'm not sure. Theirs is different in that it's attendance every day at their premises. So
that's just the course. That's the course, yeah. And everybody has to comply with the regulations. Everything is standardised in that sense. It's just how the course is delivered would be more the direction I'd say. I'll take that question.
Yeah. Yep. Is there anything else? I think we've answered it most that I can see.
Anybody else got any other questions they want to shout out, perhaps? Yes, we're in a nice little friendly group.
That's right. Oh.
I can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, I think mine's just a question more or less regarding a date for the end of the year, because I know a few of my fellow students that are in here, our final exam will be on the 13th of November. And I think I saw that last year there was either a late November or early December date. So
there was, yes.
Yeah. So it would be nice if there was one, so at least we could kind of just keep going with it rather than taking a summer break and then, yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, we can certainly feed that back as a request to Student Services, and I can raise that in meetings. That's what our job is for to do. But there was December last year. I know because I took it, and I did all the work over any kind of little break, which secretly I kind of liked because it meant that those tasks perhaps weren't 3 in a week because we had set breaks in between. So it was quite useful for everybody involved. But I actually ran one of those courses, so I know that it did take place then. Yeah, but it does depend on demand, obviously.
That's right. So certainly we'll take that up, Philip, our end, and raise it with our ED. But I think we could target it both ways. If you email Student Services and request, any later date in November or December, then that will no doubt support if we attack it from both sides. But yeah, and it could have just been that. It was a resourcing issue, availability of lecturers, rather than any other, issue. It could be that we do have a big intake. If air restrictions are easing, it could mean that a lot of people do want to crack on with their PLT for sure. So we'll take that up, Philip. Thanks. Anything else? Feel free.
One last question. It says, in your experience, how often do students work full-time and complete the PLT full-time? Okay, that's an interesting one. A lot. They all do it. Only you know whether you can cope with that.
Yep.
The worst that can happen is I ask you, don't bury your head in the sand and disappear. Perhaps ask to be transferred to a part-time course, or see whether you can work directly with your lecturer and be a bit more flexible with those fixed set times of when tasks are due. But it does depend. But a lot of my students in my current course, and I've got a full-time course that's just doing civil, so they're halfway through civil litigation, and I'd say most of them appear to be working full-time. That's all I can say. Whether that's the appropriate thing, I can't comment, only you can, but you can see what the slide says on how many hours things take, but it has to be a matter for you, as I would say. But look, if it doesn't work, you wait and see. yeah, that's what I would say. But a lot of mine in my current course are working full time, and I think of this course almost as an evening and weekend course as the result. So I take that on board and work accordingly. This job's a lifestyle choice.
Unless there's anything else, I would.
There is a census state to go part time. But there is certain dates that you comply with. However, if there is a drama, you let us know and we see if we can help. So things aren't quite as set at university when you're hitting your head at a brick wall and you think, why you're all being a bunch of drainers? Can you just please let me do that? Things are a little bit different here, and we will do our best to work with you. But yes, in theory there is, and certain things are, and you can't change certain things as a consequence. However, if there is a drama, you tell me there's a drama, and if need be, then I write to student services and speak to them on your behalf if you're happy to, and ask for any fees to be waived, or if you give me evidence to prove it, and I will advocate on your behalf. That's my job. That's that. You know, you aren't just a number.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it for questions. Thank you everyone for your time and listening to this session tonight. Feel free, my contact details are there, but feel free to search me on LinkedIn or at the college and send me an email. We will take that issue up, Philip, in relation to a November-December date. But otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you both so much for running this. It's been really great. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
And an absolute pleasure. It's lovely to see everybody from RMIT, I have to say.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your extra time. I am aware we've run over by about 15 minutes, so I do apologize for that, but thank you so much.
No worries. We love to talk.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Pleasure.
Thanks, guys.